Starting. Welcome, everyone. I see everyone coming in. Hi, Ashley, Carrie, Corey. Great to see you. Heather, Lisa, thanks for joining us today. Sorry, there's some craziness going on. I'm just going to close the door. I apologize. My kids. We are definitely going to talk about how challenging it is to have all your children at home while you're trying to work. But in the meantime, it's great to see everybody. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome to the NUSHU Thought Leader Series. I'm Vanessa Cornell, and this series was born out of a desire to help people have meaningful conversations from their home that could positively impact their daily lives. I always have you, the audience, in mind, so please share your thoughts. Please share your questions. If you have a question, I would suggest the Q&A box as opposed to the chat. That way we can keep track of them. And we would love, and some of you are already starting to do this, if you could share where you're joining from. And if you have children, share the ages of your children with us. If you don't have children, you're so welcome today. We will be talking parenting, but also so much more. So welcome, everybody. I'm so thrilled to have Dr. Shefali with us today. When I started on the journey of creating Newshu a few years ago, you were my first speaker I ever brought in. So it's so exciting. We've grown so much since then. We started in New York. We've grown beyond New York, but it's amazing to have you back. Welcome, and thank you for being here with us today.
Of course, of course. I remember when you began and you invited me, and yeah, it was the first meeting ever, right?
It was.
I was so honored, and I'm so happy to be here with your Newshu members, and I know there are other people from outside, I think, coming in as well.
Yeah,
So maybe you want to explain to them what Newshu is, and then maybe we wait for a few minutes for more people to come. I'm right here, and then we can begin in a few minutes.
Perfect, perfect. So yeah, there's so many things I want to talk to you about, so I'm not going to take too much time, but if there are people here who aren't familiar with Newshu, you know, our real mission in the world is to bring people together through group. And group is a modality that we have available online, and it's a safe space for people to simply share what is on their mind and in their hearts into a space of permission, into a space where there's an agreement that it will be received with love, compassion, and non-judgment. And in this extraordinary time, we used to do it in a room together, in a circle, and now we're doing it virtually with people all over the world, people in Asia, people in Europe, South America, East and West coasts of the United States, lots of Canada, Caribbean. So if you're interested, please check out all of our offerings on newshu.com or at our Instagram at Newshu, NUSHU. And we would love to have you. So I really want to talk to you, Dr. Shefali, about your new book.
Yes, here it is.
It's super exciting to me. There it is. I have my copy too. It's so great and so needed. But first, I need to ask you this question that's really been on my mind.
Okay.
Which is, and I'll start with a little preamble about me and my kids. If you don't know, I have 5 kids. I know you know, but if the listeners don't know, I have 5 kids. And I think I'm a really good parent. I really do. I'm there for my children. I give them a lot of love. I'm really interested in who they are, in seeing them for who they are. I'm not controlling. I'm not playing out my fantasies of my life on them. And so, you know, I sort of focus on that, and then I listen for the signals when they need more, right? When they need me for something. But this time right now feels unique. And so my parenting has always been like, I trust that my kids are going to be fine. And if there's an issue, I'm there and I'll help them and I'll work through it with them. But I'm right now thinking, what do my kids need from me that's different than what they've always needed from me? Because clearly the challenges are great for everybody. And the kids are going through their unique set of challenges. So my first question is, how do you think about, as parents, what we need, what our kids need from us now? Is it different than before? Is it the same? Does it have different priorities? Given all of the challenges that we're going through, you know, and everyone's challenges are a little different, but everyone's going through a challenge right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
So conscious parenting, I'm sorry, my voice is a little off. It goes off easily because I talk a lot. So conscious parenting really advocates for the parent to be constantly seeking attunement with the is-ness of the moment. So we can take that and try to adapt it to what's going on right now. So what they need from you, you say, what do they need from me? They need me and you, they need the parent to attune to the is-ness of the moment. So what is the is-ness of the current pandemic? The is-ness is chaos, unpredictability, you know, school is on, school is off. The future is certainly unknown. Zoom technology, which is more boring than in person, if that's possible, except what we're doing right now.
Right.
We're not boring.
We're not.
So our children are coping with a lack of socialization, lack of their schedules, lack of their organization. We are not happy with them being home all the time. We're not available because we used to do work when they went to school. So this is the is-ness. So to most consciously parent means attuning to the needs that this is-ness brings about. So given that this is the is-ness, the next question to ask is, what are the needs? So I walked into my daughter who's in bed in her pajamas with a hoodie in my bed, all like with her drink and her laptop and supposedly studying. So when I walked in, I saw her, she was on the phone, if anything, but studying, yes. And then I went a little bit into my wardrobe, came back, still on her phone. And the instinct in me was to say, what the hell are you doing? You're supposed to be studying and focused. But then I said, okay, what is the is-ness? The is-ness is that it's boring. The is-ness is that it's an adjustment. The is-ness is that it's chaotic. They could barely pay attention in person. I don't blame them. You know, teachers are boring in person. Imagine how they must be with this screen. Imagine, Vanessa, you teaching all day long, the poor teacher, staring at this screen, 10 kids and a classroom. The teacher is going bonkers. The teachers are under stress.
Yeah.
So I was about to admonish and lose my patience and be righteous. And then I said, you know, what is the is-ness? The is-ness is that this is a shit show, kind of. And I need to have compassion. The fact that she's sitting there straight up, supposedly looking at the screen, maybe that's all I can expect right now. And I didn't say a word, and I just left the room. I mean, what is there to say? I mean, it's so unpredictable. What can we do right now? Our kids are holding on by a thread. Yeah. And really, actually, all of America is holding on by a thread. So putting anything more in terms of prestige or fitting in or keeping up or achieving or, you know, or succeeding may be pushing it a bit too much at this present moment.
Yeah. So I'd love to lean into that, what you said, because, you know, I led off with parenting, but of course that's not all you do. And we're all hanging on by a thread. And so I've really noticed a lot in groups when people speak to me, there's a lot of self-criticism. I should be. Why can't I? I have all this time. I'm tired. I feel guilty about it. And so what I was struck by in what my instinct was to admonish, and then I said, no, I gotta let it go. Feels like we need to do that for ourselves too, don't we?
Yeah. So what's happening right now is a real call to healing. But a call to healing only comes through trauma. You know, like trauma is a call to healing. I say pain is a portal of greater consciousness. And this right now is a trauma. We are going through a global trauma and certainly an American trauma, given how our parents are handling the situation. Mm-hmm. We don't have leadership. We don't have direction. We don't have vision. We don't have optimism. We have no mommy and daddy who, you know, mommy and daddy are drinking and slobbering on the couch or only caring about themselves. Mm-hmm. So we children are feeling the trauma. What happens in a trauma like this is that it has the potential to evoke old trauma. So we are therefore decompensating at alarming rates. When this book was conceived 3 years ago, there was 1 in 5 children diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. This was 3 years ago. So imagine now what the rates are. So yes, we are going through a global trauma, certainly a domestic trauma. Certainly many people are re-evoking old trauma. But precisely because this is a moment of pressing pause, that all our old traumas now come up, it is an opportunity to heal. So we have to understand that our lethargy, our apathy, we don't know, should we start a home gym, like buy a home gym, like just something simple like that, right? Like a decision, should we buy a home gym? But then what if the other gyms, what if they find a cure tomorrow and then the gyms open up? Then, so let's just not exercise, let's just wait. Because you'll be confused. We're in between lands. Should I do this? Oh, but what's the point? I won't be traveling for another year. Should I da-da-da? But I won't be, so we have the impetus from the old life, but then we're on a major pause. So this back and forth really is traumatic. And if you had childhood trauma or marital trauma or recent trauma, it's going to come up. And that's why this is not only a pandemic of COVID, it's a pandemic of a mental health crisis. So therefore, we have to recognize when we're apathetic, when we're listless, when we're procrastinating, we're in limbo. We don't know. Some days are great. We're on a manic high, and then some days are like so low. We're all going through these cyclical, labyrinthic kind of downward spirals. And then we come up, then we go down, then we come up. We don't know what to do. So we're lab rats in this experiment, really. So we have to be cognizant of the is-ness. The is-ness is that it's a shit show. It's hilarious, it's tragic, it's restful, it's chaotic. It's got all the dichotomies in it, and we're in between the old and the new. This is traumatic. We have to be very gentle with ourselves, very loving. Don't put extra pressure to be a fitness buff, and don't put extra pressure to now, keep up with the Joneses. I mean, we got to release the pressure at this time.
Yeah. You say that pain is a portal. And to me, it feels like pain is a portal because there's so much information in pain, right? There's so much we can learn in that moment of trauma and chaos and pain and suffering. And so how do you think about, in this moment of real disconnection, real sort of where even if you had your shit together, you feel really discombobulated? How do you think about what makes that transform into healing? And what creates simply a trauma response where you're spinning and you just can't make progress out of that space to a place where you can move through it to healing?
You're asking what is that ingredient? What separates someone who can transform pain into power and one who just spirals in the pain? That's really hard to say because it's such an individual epiphany that happens. It's not like the strong and the brave and the tall do this, or the ones who had no trauma in the past do it. We don't know who's going to do it how. Of course, the prognosis is better for somebody who's been on the path, who's been meditating, who understands that this is an illusion, who sees through the surface seductions of this chaotic time. So those people are definitely going to be tested, but they have a conceptual framework. So they should be better off, right? But there's no guarantee. Those who have never been on a spiritual path have an opportunity now to go, you know what, this is either my wake-up call, or I'm just going to cycle like I've always cycled in life, and blame the COVID, blame the this, blame the that. Ignorance is kind of bliss. It's torture, but it's kind of bliss because you're like, this is what I've always done. Yeah. So it's really the undecided voters, not those who have been on a spiritual path, not those who are just going to be just blind. The in the middle who have an opportunity to say, I'm not free, but I don't want to do the old. What do I do? And for those people, pick up Eckhart Tolle, take one of my courses, go to Oprah, go to Deepak Chopra, go somewhere, pick up a book take a course, call a therapist, and shift your life around. It can take one turnaround, the epiphany, to turn the undecided voter into either category.
Yeah, yeah. That's beautifully said. Let's circle back to your book for a moment.
Okay.
So I read this book, and all I could think was, boy, I didn't have this language when I was a kid. I mean, not even close to this language. I didn't have this language until I was in my late 30s. So it's so exciting to me because what I see is, in some ways, actually, the kids are more resilient. They're more in the is-ness. They're like, Mom, this sucks, and this sucks, and this sucks, and this sucks, right? And they're mad, and they're sad, and they're frustrated, and they're bored. Whereas we adults spin lots of stories about, this is terrible, but I should be grateful. And, how am I compared to everyone else in the world? And let me look at the overall thing. And, we get caught in these really complex stories, whereas the kids are like, these are the 5 things that suck today.
Yeah.
So in some ways,
kids don't need to embellish, adorn, and put the icing. They're like, it sucks, it sucks, it sucks, it sucks, it sucks. But they're okay in it.
Yeah.
And this will evoke our anxiety because we like it to look pretty. We like to know where we're going in 5. We like to know what's happening, and we want to make our kids not say it sucks because we're like, listen to me, child. I have worked hard to make you happy. And now this damn COVID is making you unhappy. And now you're upset with me all day. And I don't like it. So I want you to keep thinking of me as an amazing person and give me the feeling that I've given you an amazing life. And now it's all, gone down the drain. So it evokes our anxiety.
Yeah.
So it's okay for our kid to say it sucks because it does suck. But with this book, there are many tools how we can go, it sucks and,
Right.
It sucks and then if your kid is spiraling, there's language here, and it's filled with activities. If people haven't bought the book, it's filled with graphics and activities. And you're right, it's in the languaging, if we parents don't have the right language, then how are we even going to begin to communicate? And the first thing we teach parents is that anxiety is not the problem. So if your kid says it sucks, he's right. If your kid says I'm anxious, he's right. If your kid says I'm scared, she's right. It's not about the symptom. It's about what is feeding into the anxiety. So let's go back to the example of when my daughters start studying, but not studying. Mm-hmm. So what is my anxiety, right? I'm having anxiety. So if I wasn't conscious, I'd have anxiety. Anxiety always equals control. Therefore, every time you're in control, you have to ask yourself, why am I feeling anxious? It's connected. So every time I'm in control, I need to go, whoa, what's happening within me? I'm feeling anxious. Now, I know anxiety is not the problem. You see, as long as we think anxiety is the problem, we will use control to get rid of it. But if anxiety is not the problem, we don't need to use control because it's not the problem. Yeah. So let's go underneath. What is the problem? Oh, my fears. So what are my fears? So in this book, we cover all the fears that we have the same fears. So one of the fears is fears of the future. What if? What if my kid doesn't get into college? What if her teacher realizes? What if she fails? So I notice and I realize that this is driving the anxiety, which wants me to control. So I go back to that, what if? So I go, okay, what if? Where are these thoughts? Are they in the past? Are they in the present or in the future? Oh, they're in the future. So then if you're that conscious, you can say, well, is the future here? No. What's here? What's now? Oh, she's a bit distracted. Okay. But is she also attracted? Yes. You see, so then we deconstruct, come back to the present, go back to our breath, and we realize the roof isn't blowing off the house. It's okay. For this moment, it's not perfect though, but it's okay. And this is how this book teaches us step by step to come back. So another thing this book teaches kids to do, but we need to learn as well, is the reason we're feeling zapped right now is because we've lost our purpose. We had so much purpose before. We were like going into the future and going for baseball and, having wine with our friends and going for a Broadway show. And now all that is gone. So we feel purposeless. We're like, I don't know what to do. And this book teaches us to go back into asking the why. Why? Not the why am I angry, but why of my life. How do I redevelop meaning? And that's what we teach your kids to do as well. So when you redevelop meaning, this whole pandemic can have a lot of meaning, like what you're doing. You're like, you know what? I'm going to go on Zoom and create meaningful conversations. I'm going to shift my why. I'm not going to be like, why can't I meet in the living room? I'm going to shift the what is my why? My why is connection. How do I make connection? And you shift your why and you enter a new alignment with the isness of this moment, and boom, you have some purpose.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people are struggling with is that they weren't attuned to their why before, but they had lots of distraction.
Yeah.
Lots of distraction. So now without the distraction and without the ability to shift the why, it's more like they need to find the why. They're feeling really challenged. And so what would you just say to someone who says, I want to find my purpose, but I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what my why is. How do I even start to begin to discover what my why is?
First and foremost, if the person is asking that, that is huge. They can't ask, there are two ways of asking that question. One is like, I don't know what my why is. I don't even know what my why is. What is my purpose? That energy. Or, damn, I've never had purpose. This is showing me I never had purpose. So what was I doing before? Oh my God, I was just distracted. What is my purpose? See the difference?
Yeah.
So the same words, different energy. So I always listen for the energy. I just don't listen to the words because words can fool us, So if the person is really seeking, wonderful. Like this is the best thing that could happen to them. It's a game changer. So then they go and look. Okay, so people are often asking, but how? Then after the why is the how, right? How do I find the why? So the how is very simple. It's like this. I'll give another analogy. If you say that you love smelling and looking at flowers, and then you say, but how do I fulfill that purpose? I'll say, you go to a place where there's a lot of flowers, correct? Okay. Same with the gym, same with the love. You go to a place where there are a lot of men or a lot of women, you go find single people, right? It's like kind of formulaic. So in terms of wisdom and inspiration and motivation, you kind of have to go there. No, Dr. Shefali, but online. So you go to your favorite teachers, whoever it is, and you find your little community and you enter that teacher's fold, and they will have courses, and then they will have a community, and then you start embedding yourself in those teachings, and now you're on your path. There's no magic here. It's all kind of laid out. There is a path for everything. If one is serious, one will do it. But it takes moving into the unknown of the what do I do now? How do I do it? And then taking action.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautifully said. I think that sometimes people feel also like, now I know the question, how can I have the answer tomorrow?
Yeah. Because they don't want to stay in,
Tomorrow
as
kind
I
of
said,
thing. Yeah.
you have to stay in the unknown. You have to step into the student. And a student takes a year. I say minimum a year. You're doing a PhD in 1 year. You have to go on a quest. You have to go on a journey. Minimum a month. Give it at least 30 days, right? So it has to be something. It can't be now I want it tomorrow and I want it on a horse, right?
And to me, it's almost, I understand the month commitment or the year commitment. But what I find is I hear the same messages in different forms from different people. There are a lot of people saying fundamentally the same thing, and you have to find your door, right? This is my door. It may not be your door. I open these 6 doors, they work for me. Those 2 doors don't work for me. But every time I hear that message said in a different way, I understand it differently based on everything else I've learned up to that point. So it feels never ending in a good way, in an exciting way, to really learn and listen to multiple voices and lots of different messages.
It's entering the earnestness, the humility, and the vulnerability of a seeker.
Yeah.
You're going to open some doors you won't like, but that's okay. That's part of the exploration. It's dating. you know, it's really like dating.
I've definitely had moments where I've thought to myself, you know, in the Matrix where you take the blue pill to go back in, I've definitely had my moments where I'm like, give me the blue pill. Like, let me be totally unconscious again. I can't take it. This is terrible. Give me the blue pill.
Yeah.
And I said this to my dear friend, and she said, oh, stop it. I'd put it on your tongue and you'd spit it out. I said, that's true. That's true. I'd spit it out. It's true. So let's talk more about kids and their parents. How can we help our kids, this is a rhetorical question, feel stronger, more resilient, work through their feelings of anxiety if we're completely spinning out of control?
Yeah, it's a rhetorical question.
Yeah. It is.
You could have stopped the first part. We can't help our kids when we're spinning out of control. So if you want to help our kids when we're spinning out of control, is we have to go get help for our out of control spinning. You know, so don't, you know, I always tell parents, let's not talk about our kids, you know, like let's not fall under the illusion that they're spinning out of control. Like, please, let's look at ourselves, right? If you love your kid, and I hate to use these kind of statements, but if you're saying you love your kid and you want your kid to be better, but you're a bloody mess, come on, then back up that love, you know, put in the work and fix yourself. Yeah. You know, we can't change our kid anyway by a certain age. All we can do is now emblematically radiate with a different energy for ourselves, you know?
Yeah. The way that I've approached the last few months is they're not going to remember the details of what happened, but they're going to remember the way they felt during this time.
Very good. So
if they miss a class, or they don't go to class, or they're in this place, or they're in that place, or they're on the team, they're not going to remember any of that. But that visceral feeling of, do I feel safe? Do I feel loved? Do I feel seen during this time? They're going to remember.
And they're more going to remember the converse, like, oh, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel her. Like, you know, so they're feeling safe. And then one day they have a shitty day. I hate my life. And you'll be like, you were so great. Because that's a given. They want to feel safe. They want to feel. So you'll feel like, bloody, I've worked so hard to make you feel so safe. I've been meditating every day. I've been making you feel positive. And then one bad thing happens and now you're just acting like your life is coming to an end. Because people don't remember good shit. And our kids too. Oh, but do one thing bad, they will pull it out. They still remember, Mom, remember when I was 4, you broke my toy in anger. Like, they'll remember that because that's human nature. So just, you're right. What less damage can I do? Yeah. Now, I really want to yell. Every parent has wanted to yell at least once a week. But remember, they will remember that. And they won't let you forget. Then you'll have to pay. Then you have to be guilty. So just go drink something, you know, just go eat something, stuff your mouth, because kids remember the bad stuff. Yeah. It's amazing. And you're like, but what about all the good things I did? But what about all the birthday surprises I gave you? I stood on my head. Nope. But remember, Mom, you called me stupid. Oh, but I didn't mean it. No, you've broken my whole self-esteem. Kids are like that. They have memories of an elephant for all the negative stuff.
Yeah. So let's attack that for a moment, because I want to make sure that we're not interpreting that as you must be a perfect parent and never make a mistake. Because I had a real run-in with my inner supermom when this all started. I had my 5 kids, a niece, a cousin, my husband. There were 9 of us, and I was cooking 3 meals a day and cleaning the house. The kids helped, and laundry, and they helped, but I was managing it, my business, and Zoom school for everybody. I was waking up at 4 a.m. and I thought, you know, I've really worked through my supermom thing where I have to be the perfect, amazing, extraordinary person. And I thought I had made so much progress until that happened. And then that supermom thing came rushing back, where I was like, if I can just take care of everyone's needs at all times, this whole thing will be okay.
Okay, I'm going to help you really, because see how
I got through it. I recognize.
Very good what you said.
Yeah.
that people could misinterpret what I said. But here's the thing. 99% of the times we yell at our kids is because we are in supermom.
Yeah.
If we weren't in supermom, we won't be crazy. So you said, so when I said, be careful before you yell, you were right in saying, wait. I don't want parents to think they can't yell. Of course. So now we go deeper. Most of the reason why we yell is because we're in a perfectionistic, crazy, doing, achieving, anal, retentive, obsessive, supermom mode, right? That's what I'm saying. Most of our need to yell comes from anxiety. Anxiety of what? Anxiety of not being good enough. Me or her, me or him. Once we release that, and release super mom, release super kid, release super school, release super grades, release it. Like technically they should have canceled school. 2020 should have been no school. Doesn't mean, and then parents are like, oh, what do you mean? My kid will just slack? No, your kid will cancel school the traditional way.
Yeah.
No grades, no pressure. Yeah, we do group projects together. We only do things in person. Don't give the kids more to do out of the Zoom, because the Zoom is an adaptation anyway. It's taking the life out of us. So of course they didn't, and they wanted to keep pushing. So because the school wants to be in super school mode. So, and teachers are going crazy. Teachers are not happy.
No.
You know, they have too much on their plate. So, and parents are going crazy. So the whole mentality, once we drop it, there is no much need to yell. Then we just go, you know, we're just flowing. It's all a mess. It's all just basic. If we can just, you know, go to sleep with our teeth brushed once a day is good enough. Like you recalibrate your expectations because you realize you're in a war zone, an emotional war zone, and this is traumatic.
Yeah. I think if the schools had canceled, however, the parents would have really gone into.
But cancel school the way it was done.
Yeah.
Because we are not living the way it was done. So we cancel school the way it was done.
Yes.
Keep the damn school. We're very happy the kids are learning, but we cannot do it the same way. We cannot. I mean, I don't know whether you had this, but I had the PE teacher failing my kid in the first phase of COVID. They're like, your kid is not doing the aerobic instructions at home. I'm going to fail them. I'm like, I'll do them. So I did them and told her what to write. I'm like, you did this, you did. I'm like, are you serious? You know, I can barely survive right now and make an egg. So what do we, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
The same way. We cannot cling and be attached to life the same way, hoping it will go back to the same way. Parents need to realize, and schools need to realize, there is no same way. The same way was anyway toxic, and we're not going back. We must turn the corner now and move to a different direction.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. I feel like with my kids in school, I think there are no rules anymore. So I made the executive decision that PE was optional. My kid said, am I allowed to skip PE? I said, I decided you're allowed to skip PE. PE, like we're lucky enough to have outdoor space and you're running around with your siblings and you're jumping on the trampoline. PE, done. What happens in a time where, what's the opportunity in a time where the rules that used to be quite rigid might be more flexible all of a sudden? People have to be more flexible, right?
How can we? It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It should have been all the time, all the time, you know. Ages back when I wrote Conscious Parent, I wrote homework is, what did I write? Homework is for idiots. Something's like, it's idiotic.
Yeah.
And my daughter read it, like found out about it when she was 8 or 9. And since then she's always been like, why do I have to do homework? It's so idiotic. It is, you know, so it is a time for us parents now to take our children's mental health in our own hands and go, you know what, get the C. It's just, are you okay? Like you haven't cut yourself, you haven't hit yourself, you haven't sat in bed all day. You're alive, you're breathing, you're running, you're smiling, you're giggling. That's A. I'm giving you more subjects that you're getting A's on. You got an A on smiling, you got an A on giggling, you got an A on getting along and not killing your siblings, you got an A on, you know, picking up a pair of socks. We recalibrate and we give A's. Why are we dependent on the school to give A's? They're going to follow the system. There's so many other measures of success, and that's the opportunity here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to ask a question, and I'm going to phrase it a little bit differently than in the question box. The question is, what age can we not change our kids? But my question is, can we change our kids?
So the kids, as we know, come with a basic emotional blueprint or temperament, or you know it with having 5 kids, Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're being the same parent, but you're like, okay, like this kid and this kid are so different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, you're a different parent with each kid, but you are basically Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
How different can these kids be? Very different. Their basic temperament is inbuilt. Some are sensitive, some are insensitive, some are aggressive, some are passive. So given that, we can then mold or destroy what that was. So if you have a very sensitive kid and you don't recognize this kid is so sensitive, yelling at this kid or raising your voice at this kid or giving a snarly look at this kid can, quote unquote, hurt this kid way more than if you give a look to that resilient, sturdy, thick-skinned kid. Very different. So you can change your kid on top of what's already there. But what's already there is already there, and that you can't change. You can't tell the sensitive kid, can you just grow some thick skin? And you can't tell the thick skin, I mean, you can try. Can you please be more sensitive? You can try, but it isn't going to move much because there is something that's just an is-ness of that temperament,
Yeah. So there's a question about what ages the book is best for. Can you speak to that?
Well, I think it's good for parents, but that's just me. But it's particularly designed for the middle schooler and the high schooler to read on their own. But come on, you can read it to any kid. The parent needs to read it for themselves to learn how to talk to children, because this is written in kid-friendly language. It really, the best advice that it gives you is to transform anxiety. So stop trying to get rid of anxiety. Stop trying to punish the anxiety. Stop trying to distract the anxiety or suppress it. Learn to understand the anxiety, have compassion for the anxiety, understand anxiety is a pointer. Where is it pointing?
Yeah. So there's a question here about social media. What if, your kid is not getting an A in running around outside, not getting an A in doing anything except for going down the social media rabbit hole? To me, the devices, the electronics, the video games, the social media, it's the single most challenging thing in my home. And I suspect for a lot of others also. What is your approach, advice on how to manage and handle that?
It is a scourge and a disease and a plague and toxic, and it's a nuclear bomb. However, if you have a teenager over, like mine is 17, going to be 18 in a few months, I kind of can't control it anymore. However, if I saw that the teenager was isolated, in Japan it's called hakikomoris, where they stay in their room and don't come out and look at the sun, I would take action. I would intervene. If I see my kid is on social media, but also social and also doing the basics, basics of basics, I'll cut some slack. Now, if I have young kids, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't let my kid have a device till like 12, 13, not till 14, 15, till late middle school, because it swallows your children, it takes out their brain and sends it through the garbage disposal. Yeah. So if you have young kids, take it away right now. Don't give them anything mobile. Go back to the TV where you control the remote. If I could do it all over again, I would never give my kids social media, ever. And and now what to do? I was the first, my generation was the first generation that had kids who were phone age. My daughter was 12 when the iPhone came out. So forget her wanting it, I wanted it. And I didn't know it was evil and how they were designed. They didn't know, and everyone has seen Social Dilemma, I'm sure. People didn't mean for things to turn the way they did, but they have turned toxic. So if you have young kids, save your kids, protect your kids.
Yeah, yeah. It's an ongoing battle, very challenging. Let's talk about those highly sensitive children. Someone asks a question about her son who's highly sensitive. I have a daughter who at the beginning of COVID was crying every night and she couldn't tell me why. And I think she felt it. I mean, I think she felt that collective energy of grief in her body and feels things very deeply. And particularly at this time, for those really sensitive children who may not, and what I found with her is she didn't have the language. She had no idea what was happening. It was like flowing through her. How do you help those really sensitive children, particularly right now?
Right. So the first thing you do is you don't ask them, you just know, right? Like you said, she was just feeling it. You just know that kid is going to be feeling everything, but don't ask them to put it in words.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, it's a lot, I get it, and I'm here for you. And for that kid, you watch less TV around her, you talk less about it, because for that kid, one bar stays for 30 days. They can't handle more than that. So we attune ourselves and protect them from too much info, too much energy around it. And you bubble wrap them in some way because they feel things on a reverberatory level far deeper than the rest of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about siblings.
But also I would say for that kid, sorry, let them know, you can say you're just like me or you're just like grandma. People like you absorb things and it's such a gift, but it can be a lot.
Yeah.
So you come and tell me when it's a lot and we'll take a spa day. We won't go on Zoom. We'll take a break. You have this gift. You feel things beautifully, but then it's a lot to feel. So I get you. You let her know this is a time to let people know how they are operating, and let your kids know. You when you're stressed, you procrastinate, don't you? Or when you stress, you get angry all the time. Like you're irritable. Like you're kind of. I tell my daughter, you dump a lot. She's 17, so she dumps on me a lot. I go, wow, man. I guess you're really anxious because you're dumping on me. It's okay to kind of show the coping style,
Yeah. Yeah.
but not in a judgmental way, just in a interesting, huh? Or you can say, wow, I've been eating a lot, or I've been wanting to sleep a lot. So you let the kids know this is how we've been coping. And of course, read the book with them and allow them to know it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We also do a lot of, we have our go-to tools, like, oh, let's listen. Should we listen to an audiobook, take a bath, or put the diffuser on? We have our
self-care.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So let's talk about siblings. I know in my household, there was 2 months of a lot of togetherness. We always have a lot of togetherness with the siblings, but this was togetherness at another level. And then we could also layer on the togetherness of working from home and if your spouse is at home. But let's talk about siblings for a moment in terms of the question is asked, more affection, less fighting. But the question is, can we really impact, that? Can we expect our children to be affectionate towards each other? How can we set our kids up for the healthiest relationship amongst each other that we can?
Well, I'm going to give you a cliche answer because in the heat of the moment, it feels like they're going to destroy each other. But the cliched answer, which all psychologists will say, get them to sit down and share their feelings. You share yours, and then you share yours. And let's have the value of having each other's perspective and raise empathy. The most important thing, besides all that, those are all really great, is for the parent to be relaxed. Siblings dump on each other, and they will develop their own relationship, whether you like it or not. Meaning, they can be really bonded right now and fall apart later. They could be separate right now and come together and go back and come together. With your siblings, I know with mine, it's completely unpredictable. And the best thing we can do is ride the wave. If they're not destroying each other, they will work it out. This is beyond you. Yeah. Their relationship is their karma, so to speak, their fate, their destiny. It is at the end of the day, you can teach them not to destroy each other. And you can, of course, just by being home, they're going to love each other. That's a given. But more importantly, they're going to remember things like, my mom always took that kid's side. My mom always put me down. You know, the kid, that's what sibling rivalry is rivalry for the parents' attention, rivalry for the parents' esteem. So the parent needs to each day clean up their own feelings about this one versus that one versus that one, and approach each one with the same bounty. I don't know how you do it, Vanessa. You have 5 kids, but you must do a lot of work on making sure you're not aligning more with one versus the other. So maybe you need to share with us how you do that.
Yeah. I think the first thing is what you said, which is I have a deep fear that my kids in some combination will grow up and hate each other and not have a good relationship with each other. But at the same time, I know that if that is going to happen, there is nothing I can do. And I have natural bonds between some of my kids. And then I have kids who just make each other crazy and they just rub each other the wrong way. So I accept that just like if you have 5 colleagues, you love some and other ones you don't. Like just because you're siblings doesn't mean you have to like each other. I do believe fundamentally they love each other. But I let go of any semblance of controlling that outcome at all. And I just focus on seeing them each individually and making sure that when they're fighting, I'm far enough away that they don't know that I saw it.
Good, good.
Letting
because
them.
the less you interfere, the better.
Yeah, yeah. Sibling justice is harsh, but
Tricky.
usually fair.
Yeah, yeah. And they kind of figure it out.
If someone's being a jerk, the other kids will let them know quickly.
Yeah, it's so great. You know, you have, it's just, it kind of takes care of itself. Like you don't even need to be the bad guy because someone else will say something before you have to say something because they can check each other and have checks and balances before you need to be the bad guy. That's why you, be in the bathroom, be cooking, be on the phone, enter the scene late because before you enter, it's quite likely another kid has reprimanded them.
Right.
And you don't even have to say anything.
And when they were young and the boys were wrestling and very physical, I would say to them, there is a line between intense and dangerous. And if you cross that line, I'm not going to let you fight anymore. So if you want to keep fighting, make sure you learn to manage that line. And they do. They do.
Sure.
Yeah, because they want to fight because they're boys. They love to fight. I have another question about siblings. What if you feel one sibling is hurting the other's self-esteem? One is super sensitive and the other one's not.
I know what you're gonna do. It's so difficult when you have that slightly bullying relationship. Well, I would say this: instead of telling the bullying one to stop the bullying, because it's a paradox already, right? You can't tell the insensitive one to be more sensitive.
Yeah.
Don't. Teach the sensitive one to create boundaries. And go, I get you. You're sensitive, they're insensitive.
Yeah.
You need to create boundaries. And help that kid create boundaries.
Yeah, that's good advice. So let's go more back to the book. So the title of the book is Superpowered, Transform, and I love that word transform, anxiety into courage, confidence, and resilience. So let's talk about that transforming part. What are the components of the transforming part? For people who haven't read the book yet, so they get a little sense of it.
Sure. So in the book, we really talk about how we all came to this earth full of powers. Power. Just quickly, P is presence. We came with presence. O is originality. We came with it. Wholeness, energy, resilience. And then we call it that the superpowers got zapped. And it got zapped because we had pressure to fit in, to achieve, to compete, to compare, and to think of the future. So we go through each of why this happens. So we call it what ifing because we live in the future. So we have to stop what ifing so we can return to being present.
Yeah.
Our originality was robbed because we tried to camouflage ourselves and fit in. We teach the kids not to do that. We lose our wholeness because we begin biting away at our inner worth and self-esteem. By cocooning, we hide who it is we are. So we teach our kids how to do that, how to return to wholeness. We're fried because we've lost our sense of purpose, meaning, or transcendence. And so fried is the reason why we've lost our energy, and we've lost our resilience because we have this fear to succeed and be perfect. So the reasons why we've lost the power is explained, and then how to reclaim the power, techniques to reclaim the power is explained. I mean, it's so thick. It's got so much stuff. It's got practical examples. I mean, it is the book of the times. I'm so proud of it. And it really breaks it down in such a kid-friendly, conversational, interactive journal workbook way. So buy the book, spread the book, share it with your friends. It's the book you were waiting for. It's the book that your kid needs to self-therapize without realizing they're doing therapy on themselves. You know, it's so fun.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and I've read through it, and it's so helpful. Whether the kid is doing the book directly or the parent is reading the book to have the language to help the kid. And there's a question here about how to start the conversation to see how kids are feeling. And I would take the question a little bit further, which is, what if you have a kid who's like, Mom, come on. It's like, I'm fine, leave me alone. You know, just like a brick wall of nothing. No, I don't want to do the workbook, and I don't want, you know, what if you
then you don't. You know, you don't. You honor where your kid is. Maybe your kid is like, please, I'm fine. I haven't done this book with my kid. I showed it to her, and she was like looked at it like, I'm not anxious. And she like, thank you. I'm like, you can just read it. No. So I didn't force it. I'm like, okay, I guess you're okay. You know, I'm not going to force it. So with younger, that's the beauty of younger children. You can force them. Younger children, you can force. Yes. You go, come on. Yes. Let's read this book and have some ice cream under the tent. Yeah. Come on. Younger kids under the age of 13, you should be doing it. The minute your kid hits that 12, 13 mark, you can't force them. But younger kids, you can make it fun. You can go, Dad is doing chapter 12. I'm doing chapter 11. What chapter are you doing? For younger, this is your opportunity to get them young, you know. But there are many teenagers, I will tell you, many teenagers who are loving the book. My kid just thinks she's 25, you know, but because she's grown up with me. So she's like, please, I know what I feel. So, but for other kids, other teenagers are loving the book and eating it up. And it's such a great doorway. For teenagers, I would just say, hey, you know, let me read you these lines and tell me what you think about it at the dining table or just in the car. Don't give them the whole book. They'll ask for the book. So I would just entice them where, you know, here it says, happiness is a temporary feeling. We shouldn't try to achieve happiness. There's something paradoxical, something spicy. What do you guys think? Do it that way as a game on the table. They don't have to read every page. And then if they love the book, they'll take it from you.
Yeah. I love that. I think we don't have a lot of time, but I want to ask one last question, which is, when your teenager who used to cuddle up with you and tell you everything about their day all of a sudden says, no, I'm exercising my right to not need you anymore. How do we manage that? I mean, it's sort of, it's a little rhetorical, but because the way I think of my parenting is how do I equip them to not need me anymore? I'm so excited for when they don't need me. I think that's also the benefit of having 5, that by the time I'm done parenting 5, I'm done, right? Like,
I hope you're done after 5, Vanessa. Yeah, I'm done after 1. So
I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah, after 5, I'm done. Okay. Only three children extra to be done. Okay, you needed to have 5. So yes, you're right. We're so excited when our kids don't need us. However, it's just a reminder to create safety. You know, so yes, it's great your kid doesn't need you. Don't force it. But remember, maybe they're not opening up because you yelled at them last time. So the next time there's any opportunity, they drop something, they forget something, they yell, create safety. You know, safety is the only way people open up. And if your kid is shutting down, there are 2 reasons. One is because they genuinely, developmentally think you are so old. Or the second is that you made it too unsafe.
Yeah.
So if it's the first, yay. Second, make sure. So we never know for sure. We always want to create safety.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do sometimes, but that's the goal. I want my kid to talk to me, so I have to always be open, don't judge, you know. So if you have a teenage girl, for example, and she tells you about how everyone was drinking, or she comes out of a room wearing a bra and she's going out of the house, and you're like, you have to think, do I want my kid to change in another person's house, or do I want my kid to be open and change in my house? You're always thinking what can create connection.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you so much for today. I do want to leave a minute for you to tell us about all of the other work you do. I love the fact that we got a chance to really talk about this book, but it is just one part of everything that you do. I know that you have conscious parenting coaching, which is so exciting that you teach others to help parents become more conscious parents, and a website with lots of other things that you offer, including summits and gatherings and membership. So tell us about everything that you offer.
Okay, so a couple of things that I offer are, first one is the Conscious Parenting Coaching Institute. So we open twice a year. We have fabulous cohorts of people dedicated to wanting to be a coach in their own lives, better at doing this in their own lives, and having a fabulous career of service, helping others on Zoom, online, on the phone, helping other parents go through parenting struggles. So this cohort has 133 people. It's amazing. We have a Spanish section. It's just so flourishing. It's all online, fabulous support. It's just amazing. So if people are interested in possibly doing this in the future, they should sign up for my newsletter on my website so they can get in my system. I have a women's support group called Luminous that meets every week. And that's fabulous. And that's just for the price of a Starbucks. I have lots of courses online. So if people want to start their spiritual journey, they can do my signature course. Is called The Awakened Heart. I have meditation courses. You know, every Sunday on my Facebook page, I do this viral wisdom teaching. I did it for 52 days straight, and then I went to once a week. So I have a lot of things. If they are on my Facebook page, on my Instagram, on my newsletter, they'll get to know about it.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. I think it's important for people to know that you're not just about parenting, right?
Yeah,
There's
for
so
sure.
much more. And so people who don't have kids, or people who are like, my kids are fine, I need to think about me, that you have so many offerings for them. So thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you guys. Thank you
Beautiful
so much,
questions.
Vanessa. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks everyone.